My name is Angela Prusa. I'm from Namibia and I am founder of the Cannabis and Hemp Association of Namibia. I'm also a cannabinoid practitioner. That means I work with cannabis as a medicine and I am a local cannabis advocate.
Angela, what has motivated you to tackle this at times very heated debate about the legalization or decriminalization of cannabis in Namibia?
So the cannabis law that we have in Namibia, the law that prohibits cannabis, is one of the last remaining apartheid laws that we still carry. It is a law that's based not on evidence or the facts of the harms of cannabis. It is based on a racist motive. I have worked with this plant for a very long time, and I think it has amazing potential, not just for medicine, but also industrial potential benefit for our country. And I think it's really important that people's human rights are respected when we talk about substances and laws. There was a study done on the harms of substances. Alcohol and tobacco are more harmful than cannabis. So imagine when you're at home having a glass of wine and you have the drug squad breaking into your house, assaulting you and your family, putting you in prison and charging you. It disrupts the communities. It traumatizes people. It breaks families apart. It gives people criminal records, which means the opportunities and then lack of opportunities in their lives are affected. It's a law that causes a lot of harm. And essentially the prohibition of that law is more harmful than the cannabis itself, not just because of the things that I've just named, but also because essentially, if we tap into the potential of cannabis, the benefit can be so much greater. And if we bring the cannabis market from the underground, where it is not regulated and it is not transparent, and we don't know what is in the products that people are smoking and the cannabis that's being brought in from other countries, all of this is harm reduction when we can bring transparency and regulation and age regulation and education and support for people who, for example, suffer from, dependence on substance.
Do you think there has been a gradual change in attitude?
So I've noticed a lot of change over the years because I have a lot of people that get in touch with me, sharing their story with me of how cannabis has helped them. A lot of people who use cannabis recreationally, what I call adult use, are just people having a spliff, smoking a cannabis at home after work to relax. These are people who are in positions of power. These are people who are pastors. These are people who are teachers, and people have been so scared of saying anything about it because of the stigma around it and because of the prohibition, because it's going to land them in jail. But over the years, I've seen even in the communities, like the education that's been happening and having more conversations around it, that it's changed people's perception of the plant. And I think that's the important thing, is to keep having these conversations. But even at a government level, over these last 6 years, I've seen there is a change in our society when it comes to cannabis. And so many people now recognize, that cannabis isn't as harmful as, all this fear mongering was making it out to be. I'm not saying cannabis has absolutely no harm. That's not what I'm saying. But it is definitely less harmful than alcohol and tobacco. And we need to treat it as such.
Where's the world heading, and why should Namibia bother with what the world is doing?
Because the World Health Organization and the United Nations have rescheduled cannabis and have admitted that cannabis does have medicinal value. So based off of that, but even before that, there were various countries, who looked at legalization for various reasons. For example, in South Africa, the courts recognized that it is our human right in the privacy of our own home as adults to utilize this substance. The whole world, all over, there's countries who are moving towards legalization. And I think for us in Namibia, it would be a missed opportunity to not recognize the benefits of cannabis and hemp. There was a report that came out, which is the cannabis and hemp are able to help us achieve 15 out of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We can be utilizing this plant and all the plethora of benefits of industry that it can offer us, as well as honoring the human rights of those people who smoke it.
Where do you hope this conversation will go?
I hope that this conversation can become more public between government and communities, so that we can have the conversation about how do we legalize this in a good way, so that when legalization does occur, because occur it will, but how do we legalize it in a good way so that those harmed by prohibition, the marginalized communities, and the well-being of nature is at the core of that legislation, for it to be a truly Namibian market for local people, for marginalized communities, for everyone, because it is moving towards legalization. That is going to happen inevitably.